Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. Now, as you can see, normally Steel Rain joins us, of course, joins me and Fuzzy. Due to scheduling, he's not going to be a part of the show moving forward on a regular basis, but he does have the key to the front door. So anytime he wants to join, he knows that he's more than welcome pretty much in any show, but this one specifically. Now, a gentleman by the name of Game Pass Dad, who's been on the show before, is going to be joining us on a regular rotation schedule. He won't be here this week or next week because he's traveling for work, but after that, he's expected to join us on a regular basis. And I do like Game Pass Dad. If you've never heard of him, he usually shows up on Friday evenings with Mav and Pong Soul and that amazing crew, which, by the way, just celebrated, and of course you were part of that as well as I was, the 200th episode for the Ultimate Xbox Podcast, which is an amazing feat. I'm here to tell you, folks, 200 of anything on YouTube is a big deal. So shout out to Mav, you, Fuzzy, and I see that my stuff is already dropping. So here what we're going to do. We already have a slideshow. I'm going to remove it. And I am prepared this time, folks. No more Dollar Tree. Look, we have a, thanks to Sean Labrie, we have a nice overlay for two people. And again, obviously, I'm working on the equipment. I got my equipment changed. I got all the wires changed, and it's still giving me a hard time. They're coming on Wednesday to try and figure out what's going on. I think there's a problem from the street where I'm getting inconsistent speed. So normally we have gameplay. You're just going to get these two handsome gentlemen on the screen. And, oh, wait a second. It's one handsome gentleman now because we lost Fuzzy Belvedere. Oh, no. We will get Fuzzy back here momentarily. And when we get him back here, we will continue on. But, folks, look, this is going to be a great stream. Whether you knew it or you didn't, we had a lot of back and forth over the weekend with Digital Foundry. Now, Digital Foundry had what they call their Digital Foundries Direct Weekly. Now, this is something that is behind a paywall. It's for Patreon members up front, and on the back end, it comes to YouTube. I have a particular story pulled from twistedvoxel.com. Now, this was written by Muhammad Ali Bari. It was posted on September 15th, which, of course, was yesterday. And the lead of the story is PlayStation 5 Pro appears to run Alan Wake 2 at 840p in 60 FPS mode. There were other games also analyzed, which, of course, we will get into. Let me see if I can re-invite Fuzzy. I don't know what exactly happened. His internet just died. So, well, there's that. So we will get Fuzzy back in here momentarily. And while we do that, let me see if I can also fix my camera because I'm right up on the screen like this. And I really don't like being that close. Give me a moment, folks, to kind of situate this. And we will get this all worked out. And obviously, we will get Fuzzy in here as soon as his internet starts to, work out. Yeah, see, now that's much better. So while we wait for Fuzzy, let me just welcome in the chat. So a big thank you to everyone that's here. We super appreciate you taking the time to, show up for today's show. And again, these are one of those things that's, sometimes, we're thrown a kink. And the kink was, Steel Rain had to leave, of course, because of work and scheduling. And Fuzzy Belvedere's internet just died right before we went live. And, here we are. But fear not, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to give you a fantastic show. It's going to be a little bit slower until I get someone in here. Because unlike Mav, who is one of the best solo acts I've ever seen. Like, if you've ever seen him play a game and he's talking to you guys. I don't know how he does it, and he somehow is able to concentrate and play the game. I cannot do that. I need to be quiet, laser focused, which is why I don't normally talk when I'm playing online, especially for a shooter, because I'm trying to concentrate. But let's get into the story, because again, this is where I'm going to need folks in the chat to kind of get involved here. I'm not a tech guy. I don't claim to be. I don't pretend to be. I understand tech. I'm not a PC guy. I'm a console guy. I have always been and will always be. I have the means for a PC, but I don't want it. I don't want the aggravation of drivers and everything that comes with the PCMR lifestyle. It's just not for me. I like gaming on the couch. I know that you can build a rig like Everborn Saga and, you know, put it right next to your big screen OLED and game that way, but it's a lot of investment, and I'd rather just buy the console. And again, based on what we know for the next Xbox, it's going to be more PC-like than ever before. Oh, here he is. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. I was just saying, what a weird thing, man.
Yeah.
Fuzzy, welcome back. We want to welcome in 100 people here. It looks very nice. Shout out to Sean LeBrie for giving us a non-dollar store looking podcast, which is fantastic. Which is just I pride myself in. You got to spend some money to make money, as my pops used to say. Fuzzy, I'm gonna have to lean heavily on you. You are a tech guy. You understand PC. You understand a heck of a lot more when it comes to the P's and, you know, the K's and the things of that nature. So I want to bring in the story. Now, the story basically, like I said moments ago, folks, I'm going to read it verbatim for Fuzzy. PlayStation 5 Pro appears to run Alan Wake 2 at 840p at 60 frames mode. Other games were also analyzed. Now, the other games that were analyzed, we will break that down, because what's interesting is during episode 180 of the Digital Foundry's Direct Weekly, the resolution and frame rate of several titles have been analyzed while running on the PlayStation 5 Pro, including the likes of Alan Wake 2 and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Now, based on the analysis, Fuzzy, Remedy Entertainment's survival horror title runs at a resolution of 864p at a frame rate of 60 FPS in performance mode, and a resolution of 1260p and frame rate of 30 frames per second in graphics mode, which is the same as the resolution and performance metrics based on FSR on the base PS5. Now, again, pardon me, folks, if I ask the question. This is not being pointed, Fuzzy. This is not being console war rhetoric-y, if that's even a word. This is, what is the point of spending $830? And again, folks, that's if you need the stand, which you do. You want to stand it vertically. Most gamers stand their PS5s vertically. I do not, because of room limitation. So it's horizontal and it's fine where it is. Plenty of room to breathe. But most gamers like it standing straight up, and that's fine. But also, a lot of people, and I think that really this is a finite point that even the gaming media is overlooking, is you can get digital games on sale. But here's the problem. The problem is that unless it's a pack-in and people are selling it privately on the eBays of the world, you're not going to be able to go to any of these sites and get a digital game and get it cheap. That's because Sony locks it up behind their paywall. So you are forced to then get the disc drive if you don't want to pay full price for everything. Because here's the thing. There's been a lot of exclusive games that came out this year for PlayStation 5 that I will not pay $76.43 for. Stellar Blade is one of those games. Not that it's not a good game. It's not a game that I quote unquote need to play right now. So I'll do what I did last year and wait for Black Friday and get all of the games that I missed at full boat for half price. There's a ton of them. That is why this is $830. My question to you, quite simply, based on the report that I sent you, is this further evidence that a PlayStation 5 Pro is really unnecessary and the price does not match what you get? Please elaborate.
For me, I look at it as this is probably going to be the growing pains of the PS5 Pro for at least the next 2 years, or until first party titles that are kind of built and or completely optimized for this hardware aren't really going to show what it's fully capable of. And we've had the same thing with the Series X to some extent. A lot of the third party devs are not using the tools to get the best out of the box or get the best out of that kit, which there's a lot more power in that the Xbox Series X than what some of the games are showing. So I think it's going to be kind of the same thing with the PS5 Pro. But all of that said, if it's not doing that much better than the standard PS5, at least on some of the current games that are being optimized for the PS5 Pro, it does beg to question as far as like if it's really worth that $800 price tag. Like if I'm going to spend $800 on new hardware, I would think at that point that the hardware is going to wind up being, you know, not necessarily a generational improvement, but something that's going to at least show up better on my TV screen or my monitor, whichever I hook my PlayStation 5 Pro up to. And if it's doing 800p, yeah, it might have extra leaves on the trees, or, you know, more NPCs in a given spot or something like that. But if the shadows aren't quite as nice as they are on like the standard PlayStation, which we've seen on some of the compressed video, but once again, that is compressed video, but still, even in compressed video, you can see that the standard PS5 Pro shadows in a couple of instances did appear better than what you would expect for, or what we saw for the Pro. So I'm not buying it. Like, I don't think it's worth it at this point in time. Now, let's say a year or two from now, when we finally get to see Ghost of Tsushima 2, you know, having Sucker Punch, you know, with their experience and having that hardware readily available, I think that will, you know, eventually make it so it's easier to see why it could be worth it. But even then, like, the biggest title for me that was going to determine whether I do the upgrade or not, because I had already had it in mind that if I have to pay more than 150 to upgrade, like trade in my old PS5 or sell it outright, then if it's more than 150, I'm going to hold off, kind of thing. But if they were to go ahead and have GT7, where it's more like Forza Horizon or Forza Motorsport, where you have the ray tracing on track, which they do now, and it's going to be the 60 frames, that might bend my arm to consider it. But all of that said, I would have to buy the disk drive. I'd have to buy the stand because I have mine standing up. And I know the liquid metal crowd is probably like, "Oh, you idiot! Why do you have your PS5 standing?" type of thing. But it is what it is, type of deal. But I don't see how something could be running at 800p for the 60 frames mode when there was already kind of like a 60 frames mode prior for that game. Now, was it running, you know, lower resolution than the 800? I don't think it was. I think it was closer to like, you know, 1080 or 1200 scaled up kind of thing. But the extra goodies that you see on screen, the extra particle effects, the extra leaves, the extra, you know, light reflections and things like that, I don't know if it's worth it to downscale it to 800. Like if Pisser, the PSSR, their super resolution type of thing that's supposed to be like a DLSS for PCs or NVIDIA cards and things, I while I trust that Sony is good at what they do when it comes to things like that, I don't think it's as developed as what AMD is trying to do to match up with NVIDIA. And AMD is still a generation to a generation and a half behind when it comes to the ray tracing and the upscaling in comparison to NVIDIA. So I doubt PlayStation is going to come out of the box with this new pisser upres deal and be better than AMD's effort right out the gate. It could be an evolution of what I guess that FSR 4 is that they're talking about for AMD cards coming soon. But DLSS has been the gold standard and Nvidia is the ones leading the way in that regard. And I given the investment and the research and the know-how, there's no way Sony's beating Nvidia. Anybody that thinks otherwise is fooling themselves in that regard. But yeah, I don't think it's worth it for that price point, especially when you consider, like, if I'm replacing my PS5 with the disk drive with the stand. No, I don't want to spend $800 on something that is only getting 800, or 8 something resolution, or running just sub 900p to get the extra, frames, or to get the extra, details and things. Like, at that point, I'll just play it on my PC. Alan Wake is one of those that I wish would come to Steam, because I don't like buying from Epic Store. But yeah, I'm one of those knuckleheads too that doesn't like buying from Epic. I download all the free games from them, but Steam is where I want to keep my library, because I'm doing the family share with the boys and stuff like that. So it makes it easier. And I know I can install, or I can buy it from Epic and then still have it like launch or load through Steam. But I don't feel like going through that extra effort at this point in time. But if the PS5 is not living up, and I don't think it's going to really shine as well as people think for at least the first year or two. Now, by the time, probably as this generation is coming to an end, and first party stuff is starting to drop for like some of the studios that we've been wondering what they've been doing for the past 4 or 5 years, then I think we'll see its benefit. But hopefully at that point they have some sort of price reduction with the looming of the next generation, probably a year or two down the road, and probably Xbox being ready to launch their next generation console. So they're in a tough spot in my eyes for the pricing notion. Like, even PlayStation centric sites are like, yeah, it's great, but is it worth it? No. And a lot of them will probably tell you, if they're not getting it free from PlayStation or through their employer or whatever, they're probably not going to pay that extra money. And these are some people that are in the 6-figure range that are not willing to spend it. So we'll see how it pans out for PlayStation.
You know who broke this down, in of course a comedic way, because that's who he is, and of course we're talking about, oh no, it's Alex. Mm-hmm. He's had a couple of videos now. Granted, yes, he goes to town on people. He's even gone to town on me. Pause. Hold on a second. Pause. Hold on a second. With his cat ears. But I love his work. He's funny. He really is funny. He doesn't get abusive with his stuff. He is who he is, and I enjoy his content. But underneath that comedic layer, the guy knows his shit. Let's call a spade a spade. He understands PC, and he understands it leaps and bounds more than I do. And he's had some really interesting. The last couple of videos have been spot on. And like I said, for me, who's considered to be like a noob when it comes to PC stuff, I understood it. I understand exactly where he was coming from. Now, again, what's interesting with this is that when it was first announced or rumored, this was the 4K 60 box. And that's not, in fact, the case at all. Granted, Sony does take advantage. Their studios do spend and the extra due diligence to give you the 30 and the 60. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to see that with Xbox. Xbox is starting to do that with their first party. Now, is that everything? No, but again, Starfield didn't have it. Now it does. It even runs at 60 on the potato. Which, by the way, did you see the hashtag that I don't know who the PS Protato, PS5 Protato, which is a hashtag that actually exists. I didn't make it up. I found that to be hilarious.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, and I saw somebody put it in here. I don't recall who it was. And again, this is not harping on anybody. Yes, they said 80% of PlayStation gamers do digital. You know what? You are probably correct in saying so. I'm not going to fight you on that. But there is a difference here. There is a difference for buying a box and having the ability. See, I think you handicap yourself by buying a digital only box, because, well, unless that game is on sale and you really want that game, you are paying Sony whatever they are charging you. See, that's a big freaking problem. And I think that does get overlooked in this conversation. I'm not saying that the PS5 Pro is a terrible piece of hardware. If it's for you, then by all means, I don't pocket watch anybody. Go buy it. I'm just saying that based on the numbers that we saw through this Digital Foundry event, which is there's something that they have that's behind their paywall for Patreon, as it should be, because they're doing extra work. So no issues there. And again, I'm only going based on the article that I pulled from Twisted Voxel. I don't necessarily know that the games that they announced, Fuzzy, are all doing bells and whistle kind of things. I don't think that they are. I don't think any of the games justify an $830 price point. Now, again, folks, I'm not forgetting that this box on its own is $699. But that is what everyone's running with. Oh, $700, no big deal. It is not only $700. That's if you only need that box. Now, right now, you can get $387 for your trade-in for your Series X, because I know I traded my in. I got almost $400. And not because I'm getting rid of the X, I'm buying the 2 terabyte one, because I like the extra space. So I traded in my launch one. I got my Halo edition right there. So I'll put the Halo in the room, and I'll take the new one, and that's going to give me 2 terabytes there. I got a 2 terabyte card. I'm rocking and rolling. 4 terabytes of space, no problems. That's why I'm upgrading. But the upgrade is going to cost me, I got $400 for the console. It's not bad, to be honest with you. It's like $200 more.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you are a PlayStation gamer who wants a disk drive, who wants a stand because you want to stand it vertically, you're going to trade in your PS5 whatever, and it's working great. You're getting under $400 for it, and then you're going to have to add 400 and change after tax for your PS5 Pro. I don't necessarily know if that additional $437 is worth the investment when you could just play on your PlayStation, or for that matter, play on your $5,000 rig, which all PlayStation gamers apparently have. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, it's almost better to have 2 PlayStation 5s, so you have like multiple rooms, access type of thing, than it would be to have 1 Pro. I mean, you're essentially you're paying a little bit less than a whole nother PlayStation, but if you were buying a used PlayStation, it's like buying 2 used PlayStations at this point. And for me, I don't have a need for a second one. My kids aren't really interested in the PlayStation games anymore. About the biggest thing that they played were the online modes for Uncharted 4. One of them played, what do you call it? One of them is playing Spider-Man, but he's playing it on his PC. But outside of that, like and this is a guy, when the PS3 came out, I wound up buying 2. I bought the one for myself, and because I couldn't find a Wii U for my niece, and she had her first child at that point, that was like, well, she not just had the child was like about 5 or 6 or something like that. And I'm like, all right, I'll hook them up for Christmas and I'll get them a Wii U, but couldn't find one no matter what I did. So I was like, you know what? I'll just get a PS3. They'll be the only kids on the block with a PlayStation type of thing. But yeah, I bought 2 of those on launch day, and I'm not buying this PS5 Pro. Like Gran Turismo, a nice draw to me, but it was the same thing with the PSVR 2. Like, it was nice with the features that they offered for Gran Turismo specifically, but there wasn't any other game that really jumped out to me that I had to have that device. And I'm not one, like, Sega taught me well. I'm the guy that bought the 32X and the Sega CD for the Genesis, and then went right out like weeks later, it seemed, and went and got the Saturn. But the Saturn was the last Sega I bought. I didn't buy the Dreamcast because at that point, like, I was just getting out of high school, just working, and I just spent, I guess at that point, it felt like $400 for the Saturn. I forget what it was when it launched. But
yeah, it was $399. You're not wrong. It was $400 when it came out.
Yeah. I like after spending that, and I'm like, oh, they're already replacing this almost. It felt like 2 years later. Like I got a handful of games on it that I loved, like Jaguar Racing, which was like the most realistic racing game, at least at that time for me, that wasn't on PC type of deal. Um, and the Dreamcast was coming out, and it looks like they were going to wrap up support for the Saturn. I was like, oh no, we're not doing this. And it's not that Sony's going away or anything like that, but I'm not going to spend $800 after spending the 500. Yes, I spent 500 in 2020 or whenever the PS5 launched. But it the value to me is not there. I mean, I know that there are some that are like the enthusiasts in the PlayStation circles and stuff like that that will, pre-order theirs. I've already seen Moriarty talk about, oh yeah, everybody on I forget what it's called, but everybody
Oh
everybody's
no. Oh,
pre-ordering their
there you go.
support, like the hashtag goes support the devs, support PlayStation, and make sure that this, like, let them know that you're happy with paying this fee for this when these are also the same crowd that was like, oh, I'm willing to pay $100 for a game
Yep.
and or more. And it's like, PlayStation heard you, and they're going to continue to hear you. And if you continue to spend, that kind of money, or claim that you'll be willing to spend that kind of money, they're going to continue to up the price. They're like, oh, there's more on the table. Yeah, we're going to take that too. Oh, we saw
Yep.
how scalpers were getting $1,500 for our PlayStations. Yeah, we're going to nudge them out of the way, and we're going to grab more of that pie kind of thing. So it is what it is. But more power to anybody that picks up their PS5 Pro. Like
Indeed.
if they were talking more of like a Gran Turismo 8, maybe I would consider it. But even then, like that's one game, and I'm not about to spend that kind of money for one game. Like I would much rather spend that kind of money for one game on PC where I have the force feedback wheel, or the, I forget what they call, the direct drive wheel, and then have like the I already have the racing seat. I just need a new base, and almost like one of those hydraulic setups. I'd much rather spend money on something like that and have like a dual or triple monitor set up in front of it than go ahead and spend $400 more on a PlayStation that will probably, I won't say be obsolete, but in like 2 years would be obsolete, as opposed to that gaming rig. As far as for like the racing sims and things like that, I could probably continue to use, because I have one that I built probably back in '05 that if I really wanted to, I could set up again. I just don't have the room now that I don't have my man cave anymore. But yeah, more
Well, you
power,
don't have
more
it
power
anymore.
to those that have
I
the
gotta
money
get
for
mine first. I gotta get one first to lose one, damn it.
it. Yeah, but more power to those that are interested in this PlayStation 5. But shout out to Alex and his content. I always love hearing, even when he picks at the Xbox guys, like it's in fun. It's not mean spirited,
Right.
and
Right.
it's very rarely
He's
that
not
you see.
vicious, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
He really isn't.
and you can tell, like, if you're outside the box as far as what you say and things like that. Yeah, he's going to get you. But yeah, more power to these PlayStation cats that are pre-ordering this Pro, because not me. Couldn't be me, at least not at this point.
I mean, look, like I said, Frederick Williams. Hold on a second. Where's Frederick over here? Frederick Williams. He says, I respect all the arguments against the PS5 Pro, but I am getting it just as I would get an Xbox X Pro if there was one. Hey, brother, listen, you know what? That's awesome. Again,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should browbeat another gamer because they want to spend their money. We don't pocket watch here. I'm just saying that the price of admission, this is look, at the end of the day, Fuzzy, this is an atypical Sony move. I'm sorry. That's what this is. If you were guaranteed 4K 60 across the board and it was leaving every console in its wake behind it, then I'd say, you know what? I have to get this. I have to get this. But based on the Digital Foundry information, and mind you, they're going based on the games that were shown as PS5 Pro enhanced. They're not that enhanced. That's the problem. And someone actually said earlier, and this is one of those things, the gaming media protecting Sony, because I recall very promptly that when the Xbox One X released with Lucky Tales as its quote unquote launch title, it was destroyed in the media, literally hung up by its Buster Browns and shown off for the whole town to see. Okay, and again, I'm an old prick, so that's why if you a lot of young ones in here don't understand who is Buster Browns, it's an old shoe store from way back yesteryear that doesn't exist anymore. But listen, no one, including the media, has been like, "Hey, Sony, just out of curiosity, where's the launch game for this? How come Astrobot's not in the box?" Oh, that's right, because they took it out. How come Astrobot didn't get an advanced PS5 Pro version? I don't know. And you know what? We're going to segue into Astrobot. Now, listen, we're not slandering Astrobot. If you don't like it, I hear you. I just rolled credits last night. I spent, and I know people are not going to believe this. I'm gonna show you folks on the socials. I'm gonna give it to you. 40 plus hours in that game. 40 hours. I think I actually have over 45, but I'm saying just for shits and giggles because the last time I checked was 40, and I put another 5 or 6 hours in because I'm mopping up the trying to get the platinum, which I'm not going to get. I'm going to fall one trophy short because they have these master hidden levels, folks. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm as old school platform guy as you could get, and I'm telling you, these levels were created by the devil himself because, my God, I have never had difficulty where I died 50 freaking times between last night and this morning trying to get just one of these levels. So I gave it the big FU and I went to just mopping up the regular trophies. It's fine. I wanted to platinum it. I don't think I'm going to, these levels, they are so ridiculously hard. It's obscene. I will say that. But why, Fuzzy, are we talking about Astrobot? Well, it turns out that the sales are not matching what is happening with as many consoles are out there. And this is what I was afraid of. Now, I bought it. I bought the digital deluxe edition. And I'm going to say this, folks. I'm not capping for Sony. I'm telling you, as a gamer, every time I've picked up the controller, it has put the biggest smile on my face. Outside of me wanting to bang my head against the wall with these hidden levels, that's about the only frustration. Every time I played this game, it put a huge smile on my face. And what's unfortunate is the story here that I pulled where it's from GameRant.com. It was posted by J. Brody Shirley. It was published 4 days ago. Obviously, I believe this happened on Friday. It was published. Sales report is bad news for Astrobot, according to the story. Now, here are the key takeaways. Very, very similar to what you need to know with the with Windows Central, which is what I love, both Game Rant and Windows Central, because it kind of gives you a quick synopsis of what the story is. It says Astrobot is receiving critical acclaim for its gameplay and references to iconic PlayStation franchises. And I'm going to tell you this, folks. I know I'm going to get the virtual tomatoes. I know there's people looking for console war here. You're not going to get it. Astrobot is going to be in my top 5 of 2024. It is one of my favorite games of the year. It's one of my favorite platformers in years. Outside of Astrobot before it in 2020. I had an absolute ball. I'm an old school PlayStation guy. Like, I'm an Xbox guy front facing, no doubt about it. But I've always enjoyed PlayStation because of their weirdness. And they really do harken back to like some OG franchises. I mean, like, you even see like the characters from like Wipeout in this. And it's not just one. They have like 5 of the cars in this big hub. If you're a fan, and I'm a gamer first, it is a love letter. And again, it's why I want to talk about it is to kind of put the Sony community on blast. Like, where are you people? Where are you out here but why don't you buy the game? Because I know that there is, Christopher Dring doing what Christopher Dring does, and that of course is ringing the safety net bell for PlayStation, Fuzzy, where he's like, well, boom, it's 21% better than Ratchet and Clank. Don't do that. That's not a good stat. Ratchet and Clank didn't sell as well as everyone thought it did. That's another game. Why didn't it sell? It's an amazing platformer. It looks gorgeous. Why didn't the PlayStation gamers go out and buy it? You know why, Fuzzy? Because they're all full of shit. Straight up. No holds barred here. And that's happening to Astrobot. Now, Astrobot, look, I'm going to say this right now. This game is going to run the gambit at the Game Awards. And I'm not saying that it's not worth it. It's not my game of the year. It's it's, again, I have no problem saying it's in the top 5. My top 5 of 2024. That's not a problem. It's not going to be my game of the year. It is a great game, makes fantastic use of the DualSense. Really, for anyone that is an old school PlayStation gamer, will really walk away from this feeling like nostalgia just punch in the face. But I am here to talk about, Fuzzy, the lack of sales. Now, this is where it gets crazy. And this goes to show you that our consequences, because we just learned that the PS5 has dropped off 37% in sales since the raising of the prices versus the prior month that the prices were regular. Well, interestingly enough, despite positive reviews, Astrobot and the PlayStation 5 are falling short in Japan retail sales with only, listen to this. This is bonkers to me. They only sold 12,700 PlayStations, but worse than that, only 9,097 copies of the game. Not even 10,000 copies sold in Japan. And they are platformers to their core. Europe is no better. It sold, according to Christopher Dring, 21% better. And again, he look, I don't have the story because he has me blocked, and it's fine because I called him a pompous ass as well, and he deserves that title times 10. He compared it to it being the best-selling platformer versus it was like he was trying to be a mathematician when he's barely a journalist. I'll tell you that right now, to make this make sense. And the problem is, here's the problem ultimately, folks. PlayStation gamers are the loudest, most over ridiculousness of the community. They really are. And when they think they have something, they get on it like a dog on a bone, and they don't freaking let go. And Astrobot, again, high praise from anyone that played it. High praise from me. From me, easily a 9.5 out of 10. And the only reason why I knock off a point is because those levels that you need to go through to get the platinum are so barbaric and so overly complicated, it just doesn't even seem fair. So that's what loses 5 points for me, because now I'll never get the platinum. Those levels are ridiculous. But there are 61 million consoles. Are we saying now that 2 million copies, Fuzzy Belvedere, is a good amount? I personally don't think so. And I think the PlayStation community has let down this amazing title and the team that brought it to us. Let's get your hot take. Uh-oh. Fuzzy, I wasn't here. Did I lose Fuzzy? Oh, there he is. He popped out. There you go. You're back. Yeah. I apologize, folks. I was on another screen reading the report. Let's get your hot take on this, brother.
Oh, sorry about that. For some weird reason, my gigabit up and down is fluctuating for some weird reason. Although I run my PC off of Wi-Fi as opposed to landline, which is probably going to change here soon. But
yeah, I used to do that, and then when I was getting the inconsistencies, I went wired. I don't know how close your PC is to your router. Mine is 9 feet away, so it's easy because we're in a small apartment. But I wouldn't do wireless anymore because it's just too inconsistent.
Yeah. No, but sorry about that. But when it comes to their attachment rate, like they want to praise the game, which I get it. It looks like it's a fun game. I remember the first one being fun and loving the immersion of the controller and stuff, but it seems like they want to praise it above and beyond what Nintendo is capable of with their platformers. And yet the player base isn't showing up for it like the Nintendo players do for their first party, platformers. And that I think that's the biggest thing. Like if this is to be considered the same greatness or along similar greatness of Mario, then show up and buy the game. Like I get it. They're just looking at in that report a small segment of Japan as far as the numbers and things like that, which that market is kind of weird. Like PlayStation still does well there, but Nintendo stomps on their, lunch every day and pisses in their Cheerios every morning kind of thing when it comes to sales in Japan. And it's primarily because of the way the market is structured between mobile versus games on PC. If PlayStation leaned more into PC, then they would probably claw back some of I guess some of their previous or long-term customers that have upgraded to PCs at this point. But Nintendo with that portability is definitely stealing the show. But that still doesn't explain why Astrobot's not doing as well as it probably should in that area. And at some point we will probably hear some numbers. I don't know if this thing is doing as well as Ratchet and Clank, and we know Ratchet and Clank did not meet initial projections as far as the sales numbers. It took it like an additional 2 to 4 years for it to kind of, I wouldn't say break even, but to reach the goal that they were hoping within the first year. So it's weird to me that with all of the praise and buzz about it being like a game of the year contender, which it stands the right to be so, but people aren't quite buying it. I mean, are they waiting for it to win game of the year before they consider buying it? Because like from a casual standpoint, that's the whole reason why they usually have these game of the year things before the end of the year, because it's geared to help push things for the holiday sale. It's almost like with movies. Oh, they got the Oscar, and I can go ahead and buy the DVD, or, well, I remember back in the day when it was VHS, but that was like the selling factor for the holidays for movies, was that they were award winning before the holidays kind of thing. And with the Game Awards, it seems kind of the same deal. Oh, it wins Game of the Year, like Sekiro. Sekiro didn't sell as well as it did prior to the Game of the Year nod as it did after the Game of the Year nod. And I think it was because they could push, that it was, a Game of the Year nominee or winner, and they were able to sell more copies because I think people didn't pay as much attention to it. I mean, it's a great game. I'm not the biggest Souls like fan, but that one, at least for compared to most Souls games, it's a little bit more obtainable for me. Although I didn't care as much for Elden Ring, but all things aside, Astrobot should be doing better to the point where we should have already heard PlayStation be like, hey, 2 million players or 2 million copies sold, or we should already hear 5 million copies sold or something like that. I mean, for 61 plus million consoles out there, with it being only on PS5, which once again, this is kind of where maybe if it was on PS4, maybe it would be a little bit better of a deal, but I understand why it's centered around PS5 now with the DualSense and all that stuff. But if the name of the game is selling software, this should have had a much better run considering how many PlayStations are out there in the wild. And I know some people joke, well, a lot of them are in scalpers' basements or they're not even turned on. I get that, but that still doesn't explain why, at least 10% of the ones that are out there should have at least made the purchase of this game, because of it being it's not a new IP, but it's a beloved IP from the back in the day with the first PSVR, with the Astrobot Playroom back then type of thing. So I don't know why it's not doing the numbers that the media hypes it for. You would think even with that kind of like free advertising that it would be a bigger return for Sony and it would be an easy win. But maybe people are gun shy after the whole Concord controversy. Totally different genre. It shouldn't even be in the same sentence, but I can't explain why it's not doing the numbers that you would normally expect. Like I'm probably going out on a limb. I would probably say what do you call them? Hi-Fi Rush probably at this point did better than Astrobot in Japan. But I'm probably wrong. We'll see. But yeah, it's just weird to me that they're not buying this game in the droves that you see those that play Twitter at least talk about it. And we'll see what PlayStation says. If what is this? Not Asobi. What is it? I forget the name of the studio, but it's like if they do some layoffs here in like a couple
Yeah,
months.
you're right. It's Team Asobi. Yes.
Yeah. If they do some layoffs here in the next few weeks or months or something like that, PlayStation cats only have themselves to blame. So we'll see.
Again, like I said, there's going to be a lot of pushback for people that are like, yeah, it's not my bag. I wouldn't buy it. I'm not going to fight with you. It's my bag. I'm a platformer guy. Everyone knows that. Like, I'm a platformer guy through and through. I've been gaming for a super, super long time. So I appreciate it because that's where we came from. Still the GOAT, Mario 3D Mario. Like when that launched on the 64, like Mario 64 went 3D. I mean, that's still the GOAT in my opinion. I would love for Nintendo to revisit that on its anniversary and give us the Switch 2 version. Holy shit. I would play and find every star in that thing. I love that game. One of my favorite platformers of all time, outside, of course, Banjo-Kazooie. But I want to address a great member of the community, Yuzu Ichikawa. Now, he says, I'm just saying we got to stop comparing the entire number of sales and saying a game sold bad because everyone on the planet didn't buy it, because you're not going to go there. Xbox dudes don't do that. Well, hold on a second. It's not that Xbox dudes don't go there. It is consistently brought to the Xbox community's doorstep. How come Hellblade didn't sell 10 million copies? It made a profit, but that's not good enough for the media. That's not good enough for PlayStation Nation. They wanted to sell 5,000 plus, 10,000 plus, or it's no good. See, the different Yuzu is this. Xbox has a valued service that we pay for. Now, the price has just increased to $20 a month, right? Now, I don't pay that, and I haven't paid full boat forever, but that's because I'm a frugal shopper. And I go out and I buy when there's 3 months available, 6 months available, I re-up, and I re-up at all the different sites you can go to. You can go hunting yourself to find them, right? You can wind up paying, instead of 20, 10, 11, $13 a month if you buy the 3-month pass. Usually, like, you're paying $31 for the 3-month block. You spend 60, you get your 6 months. If that's $20 a piece, just do the math. You're a winner chicken dinner. Xbox doesn't want. Well, hold on a second. Let me rephrase that. Xbox wants the games to sell. Of course, they want people to buy the games, but that's not the only metric. See, Sony's a different animal. Okay, and this is where we get into the digital store thing. Okay, something like Astrobot cannot be purchased outside of a hard physical copy, which 80% of PlayStation gamers apparently don't buy. Right, that's what everyone says. Right, so there's only 20% that actually buy it. I bought it digitally. It's fine. I have more than enough room. Now, most of the time, I buy collector's edition that comes with the actual disc, and getting up off the couch, no big deal for me. But we cannot say for a second, with being honest, that these are two comparable platforms, because it is not. Xbox has these games like Fable, like Forza, like Halo, like everything, Indiana Jones, Aura when it releases on console. These games are in a service that entice you, the gamer, to go and pay monthly. And they make more money with you paying $20 a month, which is $240 after a 12-month investment, versus you buying 1 or 2 games like the average gamer does. See, PlayStation's problem is, there are a couple of really apparent things here. One, you can only buy their games digitally through their store, which I think is a bit illegal, but fine, whatever, which is why they're being sued by the UK as we speak, right? Yeah. But on top of that, when you have 61, because look, I mean, come on, are we fooling ourselves here, chat, for a second, that the PlayStation community as a whole, and not everyone, the boisterous ones. You know who I'm talking about because we don't name names here. They're the first one to throw in your face 65 million consoles sold. Xbox, 1/3. But yet, they did not show up for this game. This game is a phenomenal love letter to PlayStation. So I asked the question, where are the gamers? Why didn't they show up? And a very large portion of these vocal folks who play Twitter, who have their trophy list hidden instead of visible, where you can go check out my stuff right now if you want. Mr. BoomStick XL on PlayStation. Go see how many platinums I have. I have 6. That's minuscule. But there are 6 games that I played, I platinum, and like I said, I want to platinum this. I don't think I'm gonna get it done. But at least I showed up. I've been tweeting about it. I've been talking about it as an Xbox guy. Where the Sony folks? Where's the large community of Sony folks hyping up this game because it did good on Meta, but they didn't buy it? Like, that to me is just wild. But fine, whatever. Keep your opinions, folks. It is okay. I want to welcome in. This is bonkers. 1,151 people watching live, which is a lot of people. Now that is nearly 600 people on Twitter. Welcome everyone, and nearly 550 people on YouTube. Again, welcome everybody. That's a really big deal for a small channel. I do want to ask that you consider subscribing if you're interested. But look, before we get to the last topic, and this one's a good one because one of my most anticipated games of the year, I've said this publicly and I'll say it again, is Indiana Jones for a multitude of reasons. Now, I'm an Indiana Jones fan that went to see that film with my pops at City Cinema in the Bronx. He took me and we watched it together, and it was one of our favorite films. It's personal, right? I love Harrison Ford. I love the story of Indiana Jones. Now, granted, the last couple of films have not been on par with what I remember being the first 3 films, but it's fine. Being that this game is now out and it's out on Xbox first, PlayStation next year, we have an opportunity as Indiana Jones fans to, well, see new stories, new tales, new characters, because obviously it's a video game and, well, it's a video game. But I got a chance because, again, this doesn't happen very often, folks. We're still a very small channel. We were recognized by Bethesda, and Bethesda PR reached out to Mrs. Boom and me and said, "Hey, listen, we're having this event. Do you want to be a part of it?" And of course, I couldn't believe it, but yes, I saw the game behind closed doors, and I got a chance to see 10, 12 minutes more than what they showed at Gamescom. Some of the stuff that's coming out now with the stills, I saw that in action, and I'm telling you right now that I am very excited. I am very excited for this game. We're going to get to that in a second, folks, because like I said, Machine Games is cooking, and I think, again, it's not going to be a game of the year because it's going to be too late, and it's going to be forgotten about when the next game of the year happens. But I think this is going to be a really, really big game for Xbox. I think it's going to be a really triumphant piece of art for Machine Games, and I cannot wait. But before we get there, you know what? Look, folks, I don't do this every week, but we have partners. Mrs. Boom and I are very, very lucky to have people that want to, sell things through the channel, and Valari Gaming Pillow is one of them. Now, obviously, I'm very transparent. As you know, my career came to a screeching halt as an NYPD police officer of 21 years because I had a spinal cord injury. It happened, a freak accident, and I had to have a lot of work to put me back together. Now I'm walking just fine, and I can do things not like I used to. Certainly, I'm not a gym rat anymore. I used to be in the gym 5 and 6 days a week. I can't do it. But one of the things I really enjoy doing is, well, playing video games. And sometimes that puts a lot of stress on the hardware that's holding me together. And when Valari had reached out to us last year, they said, "Hey, try this pillow." I was very skeptical. I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know so much about that. Whatever." And I'm telling you, folks, as someone that actually uses, and I have a pillow, I actually have quite a few of them. I gave a few away. The one I kept is the one that was gifted to me by King David of the Iron Lords, which is, of course, the Iron Lord branded pillow. And it works. It really does work. So we're here to run a commercial. It's 35 seconds long. At the end of it, there's going to be a code DBG15. If you're interested, you go to the Volari.com. Their link is in the description of the show notes. One click, you're there. You type in DBG15, you'll save 15% off your order. And they have sent me the branded double barrel gaming pillow. I'm going to be able to show you what that looks like in the flesh. And that is going to go up for pre-order as soon as I get it. And we can start doing the marketing. I've shown it before. It looks really dope, really clean. So check out the commercial, folks. Well, there you go, folks. Again, DBG15 at checkout for your, say, 50% off your entire order. Again, if you are someone that suffers from back pain like me, you should definitely give it a try. It works. It works really well. It keeps your posture straight. I know we all tend to hunch, and I'm right there with you, and that puts pressure on my lower back. So check it out, folks. Again, no obligation. DBG15 at checkout. You'll save 15% off. And if you're waiting, I will let everyone know when the pre-orders go up for the double barrel gaming branded pillow. It looks so freaking nice. I can't even begin to tell you. But let me catch up on Super Chats. There's been quite a few of them. I want to thank everybody for the generosity because it does allow for us to do the big giveaways. And we have a big one happening. Well, September 28th. That is going to be the Breakfast with Boom. That is the 6th annual Boom's birthday bash. My birthday on the 25th. But folks, you get the gifts because Mrs. Boom and I are giving away $500 worth of gift cards. That's right, 10 $50 gift cards. And all you got to do to win is be in the chat. Now, if you're a channel member, the first 5 go to channel members. That's the way it works. Next 5, anybody in the chat could win. And for our international viewers, don't fret. Because, again, we're very proud and honored to say this. If you are outside of the Americas and you do win one of these prizes, we will send you that denominational $50 to you via PayPal only. And there's a lot of my international brothers and sisters here that have won. And you know what? We pay the transfer fee and we pay the taxes. We pay everything. You pay literally nothing. Well, you do. If you win, you win. But Profits drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Ponies thought an APU would outperform a dedicated CPU and dedicated GPU. They don't understand an APU shares resources between the CPU and the GPU. And thank you for the breakdown. Like, I would not know that unless I did these shows. Because, like I said, I understand where there's going to be continued bottlenecking issues because it's the same CPU. I'm not a mathematician or a tech guy, but at least I understand that. So thank you, Prophet, for the very generous $5. Maxie Coleman, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $10 super chat. And he goes on to say, Mark Cerny, this product is for you so you don't have to choose between res and FPS. Guess what? I didn't have that problem with the PlayStation 1, 2, 3, or 4. You're selling me this solution to be to a problem that you caused. I mean, again, folks, if it's in your financial wheelhouse, go buy the console. Go buy it. No one's gonna browbeat you for it. I just don't think it's worth it. JJ saying 117 drops a very generous $5 super chat. It says, I recommend watching some ordinary gamers. He's Mudahar, which I don't know who that is, on the PS5 Pro. He says how it's a scam, including with buying a separate disk drive for a PC guy. I mean, again, JJ, thank you for the generosity. You're not wrong. Ryan drops a very generous $5 super chat. And Ryan goes on to say, for your information, Matt Piscatella said this morning, Astro was number 2 in sales behind 2K, so that report is irrelevant now. I mean, number 2, but In what? You understand what I'm saying? Like, if has there been any games outside of Astro that makes is number two 5 million copies? I don't know, and I did not see Matt's report. I will go look at it, and if there is something to be adjusted where they have now sold 5,000, rest assured I will come back and let you fine folks know that. Oh, guess what? It sold. The people did show up. I don't think that they did. I think their PlayStation community, a good portion of the loudest ones, do not buy games. They just don't. I buy PlayStation games, and I'm supposedly an Xbox. So that just, I mean, I don't get, but whatever. So thank you, Ryan, for the generosity, and I will look up at Matt's tweet and see exactly how many copies that is, because that is for the week. So we'll see. Maxie Coleman drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. He goes on to say, did someone check if the old clip stand is still compatible with the new Pro? No, it's not, and neither are the plates. So if you have, like for me, I have the Spider-Man plates and the matching controller because I'm a nerd and I like that shit, right? So I go out and I deck my PlayStation 5 out in Spider-Man stuff because I really like Insomniac and I really love Spider-Man. But those plates will not work on the new Pro, and that's another reason for me not to get it because I'm not buying other plates. I like my PS5 just where it is. Dan Lazaro drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he goes on to say, I worked retail for a while. PlayStation dudes are broke. It's easy to see why their games don't sell like they should. I mean, listen, I don't know whether or not they're broke, Dan, but I know that they talk up a really big game and don't support the devs like they claim that they do, and that is a fact. And again, if there is I don't know why this is the problem. If there, let's just say for shits and giggles, chat, that there are 65 million consoles out in the wild. And I don't care where they are, whether they're sitting in a scalper's house or on Best Buy shelves, there are 65 million of these consoles that were shipped, sold, however you want to paint your narrative. When a game comes out and sells 2 million copies to 65 million humans that have these consoles, I'm sorry to say that is not a good ratio, especially when it's first party. This is a first party game. This is a celebration of PlayStation. I loved every second that I played this game. Of the 40 plus hours that I put into this, you say, boom, why do you got 40 hours? Because I don't play Sony games the way everyone else does. I like to enjoy what's in front of me. And I to some boards, I played through 20 times because I just loved the board. I love platforms. I have since I was a teenager and will always continue to be a fan. And that's why I support this game. That's why I put 40 plus hours into it. JMac, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $10 super chat. JMac goes on to say, PlayStation developed themselves into a corner. Their fan base doesn't know how to play other games, only third-person story games. Big reason why other genres suffer PlayStation platform, #truth. I mean, I love those games, which is why I own a PlayStation. I love God of War. I love Horizon. I love as much as I love those. You know what I love even better? Uncharted. Uncharted 2 for me, freaking GOAT. Still the best of the series. Are we ever getting one? I don't think so, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know if we ever see Nathan Drake come back outside of him showing up as a bot in Astrobot, which was and there's a level, and that's the thing about Astrobot. Again, not to gush over this game. There's like a God of War level, there's an Aloy level, there's an Uncharted level. Super dope. Like really super dope. I loved every set. I played those boards 5 and 6 times each because they're just that freaking good. Ultraman drops a very generous $5 super chat and simply says, "What's up, Boom and Fuzzy?" Well, what's up to you, brother? Thank you so much for the generosity. Super appreciate that. But Fuzzy, let's bring up the story, of course, of Indiana Jones. Now, look, The Black Viking, great friend of this community. If you don't know who the Black Viking is, please follow this man. I'd love to see them hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. They have a podcast that is called the Longhouse Gaming Podcast. It is one of the best shows of the year, in my opinion. Every episode I'm excited to listen to. They go live twice a week. Phenomenal community member. Great guys on the panels. It's what could you say? Well, he put out a tweet, and I didn't know this because, again, one of the biggest concerns for a lot of Xbox gamers and a lot of concerned PlayStation gamers is, well, Xbox Series X just can't hit 60 frames. Look at the backlash that happened with Avowed. It's 30 frames. That's what they wanted to do. I think it's going to have 60 by the time it comes out next year. I really do. I really believe that they're working on that right now. And for a lot of gamers, 60 is a big deal. People want to play in 60. I'm a graphics whore, so I'm okay with 30. But should there be a choice, and should Xbox first party have these choices? 1,000%. There is no rhyme or reason why Xbox first party shouldn't offer both a 30 and 60 mode on every one of their games. There's no excuses. I'm sorry, Xbox, be better. Offer the choice for your gamers. If somebody wants to experience game X in 60, let them do that. If somebody like myself who doesn't care about it, and I honestly don't, 30 is okay with me. Not a problem. Well, one of the biggest games coming out this year, Fuzzy Belvedere, is Indiana Jones and, of course, the Great Circle. And it has been confirmed by the resources that are available for you if you click on it. Now, what he put out there was the advertisement for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and it's download the console, right? So it's you can click it and preload it to your console. Interestingly enough, when you go into the deets here, Fuzzy Belvedere, it says playable on Xbox Series X and PC. Now, eventually, it's coming over to PlayStation 5. That's spring of next year. Fine. But here are the capabilities. And this is where we get the confirmation, folks, that it is, in fact, 60. It says 4K Ultra HD, HDR10, single player. It has VRR, ray tracing, Dolby Atmos, optimized for Series X and S, as well as, of course, all the regular roles, Xbox achievements, Xbox Presence, Xbox Clubs, Xbox Live, Xbox Cloud Saves. But circled in red, where I can see it and you can't because I have the story in front of me, 60 FPS. Lock it in. I think that this is, again, I saw the game behind closed doors. I didn't know whether it was 30, it was 60. I honestly thought it was 60, but I would never make any claims. A, because I was on the NDA at that particular time, and I have no idea. I'm telling you, that game looked so good. And now, Fuzzy, we have it confirmed at 60 frames. I think that's a really big deal. Let's get into it.
Well, I think a lot of people forget Machine Games has been doing 60 frames games for a while. And while the graphical fidelity on what we've seen so far of Indiana Jones looks amazing, they've had great fidelity for their Wolfenstein games for years. So knowing that their games were 60 frames, it only makes sense that this one would be 60 frames as well, just because of the studio that's working on it. Between them and between Machine Games and id, they've had this ability to do this for some time. So I'm not quite as surprised as many or as some may be by hearing that it's 60 frames. But with them listing that on the site, it does give me a little bit more of hope that when Avowed does launch early next year, that it will have its 60 frames mode at that launch time. If it doesn't, that's fine. It'll more than likely come shortly thereafter. But yeah, Machine Games have been great at these things. The only thing that they take a little bit of a hit on was that the what do you call it? The Wolfenstein daughters, the twin daughters. That
Terrible.
game, that
Yeah.
one didn't go over so well. Now I did like the different variety of like rarity for some of the weapons and gear, and some of the like RPG-esque kind of things that they mixed in. Although how they tried to implement the monetization for that, that's where it kind of fell apart. And the story wasn't their usual level of quality. But all of that said, that also ran at 60 frames. So Machine Games, they're on their game. They've been basically doing this for some time where they can get the most out of the hardware visually as well as performance wise. So no surprise there for me. But yeah, it's going to be a great thing to see that this game winds up being 60 frames at launch. For those that want those like performance modes, you probably won't even have to worry about a performance mode versus a fidelity mode type of thing, because they've been able to churn out awesome looking stuff for over a decade at this point. But yeah, it's great that the Series X has first party games that can be 60 frames at launch. Most of them wind up with the 60 frames coming later, but yeah, this one's nice to have at launch, and hopefully this will be a sign of more things to come. Considering how I would say, even though this game was developed before they were acquired, or at least the storyboarding and stuff, and the I guess the pre-work stuff was already worked on beforehand, but it's good to see that they're utilizing the tools, or at least making it so it's going to be performing on the series consoles. And looking forward to this thing in December, because this is definitely going to be a classic. I think it may not be the barn burner as far as sales numbers. I don't think it's going to do 20 mil or anything along those lines across the platforms, but I do think it's going to have quite a few players on the Xbox platform, as well as more than enough sales to satisfy that Disney contract on it. So we'll see how that goes. But 60 frames, hey, proud of them. I'm glad that they were able to get that up to 60 frames. But like I said, they've been doing that for a while, so it's kind of to be expected.
Well, I mean, listen, Indiana Jones for the younger generation, I don't know if it's going to hit, because like I'm an old man, so of course Indiana Jones for me is like, yes, let's freaking go. Though, why I'm even more excited about this game, and again, this is for the OGs in the chat, right? Remember a development house called Starbreeze, right? Well, they're an old school, no longer existing studio, and Starbreeze made a particular game, a pair of games, with Riddick in it.
Oh yeah.
Now those games are, even by today's standards, still playable in the best way possible, and a lot of that team came over from Starbreeze when they closed Machine Games. And I'm telling you, folks, again, I got a chance to see some stuff behind the scenes, stuff I'm not allowed to talk about, but I can say what I saw as a fan of Riddick, who appreciates that old school Starbreeze team. I felt like the DNA was here. The interactions, the voiceovers, the way the story was being told. And one of the things that and again, I'm not breaking any NDAs here. It's not going to be straightforward A, B, C, D. You're going to have the ability to go and look for hidden stuff. There's side missions that you can totally miss if you're not looking for it. That has me super stoked. I'm definitely going to drop 50, 60 hours into this game. And it's going to, and again, folks, I haven't played it. I only saw it. And what I saw has me incredibly hyped. I cannot wait for December. I'm hopefully going to be able to review it. I'm still waiting for that clarification. They invited me, so at least I have that. I got the door open there. Maybe we get a chance to review it. I freaking cannot wait. Super stoked for this. But that's going to do it for us here today. Obviously, it gets a little bit of a longer show when we have 3 people. And in a couple of weeks, Game Pass Dad is going to be joining us on a regular basis. So we'll have a third voice in here. Steel Rain obviously had to, no longer be a part of the show because, he's work, real life stuff, folks. So, but he's obviously going to pop in every time he has an opportunity to do so because he has the front key, the door to the front, the key to the front door, I should say. Let me just make sure we're caught up on super chats and we'll get everyone out of here. And yes, we are. First Belvedere, let's sell your brand, brother. Where can people check out the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre? And more importantly, not only subscribe to your YouTube channel and follow you on social media, but also check out your wife's new horror podcast that happens Friday evenings. Brother, break it down. Tell everyone where they can subscribe to both of your channels.
Well, as always love being on the podcast with you, Boom. Just love the interaction and just, kicking it and talking about the games we enjoy and stuff like that. So greatly appreciate the opportunity. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys both on Twitter as well as those on YouTube for joining us. If you haven't already, please hit that like button. Come over here, subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. And then for those that just want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, mainly like racing related stuff, whether it's Forza or Gran Turismo, just follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. But if you also are interested in horror games and movies, definitely follow my wife, Ferocious Fee 78 on Twitter, and do a search for Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, either on IMDb, because you can put podcasts on there, or on YouTube. Once again, Ferocious Fee 78, or just do a search for Fright Night with Ferocious Fee on YouTube. Every Friday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love for you guys to hang out and chill with us and talk about some of the movies we've watched over the past week and things like that. And then for everyone that's interested in gaming, stay tuned here Friday morning for Double Barrel Gaming's Breakfast with Boom, 10 a.m. Friday morning. Hope to see you guys back here in the chat. Thanks again.
And we super appreciate everyone being here. And again, before you get out of here, like Lethal Papa said in the chat, please hit the like button. It helps us grow more than you could possibly imagine. We would greatly appreciate your support. If you're watching on Twitter right now, folks, listen, there's no way for you to subscribe from Twitter, but what you can do is click on the video, go right to the actual video itself on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. We would greatly appreciate it. Again, we're still growing. We're only 15K, and I'm not being facetious, folks. We value every sub. Everything, every time someone subs, it's not looked upon as just another sub, whatever. No. We work super hard to bring you this kind of show 5 days a week. Not a lot of people are doing that kind of content, and we do it honestly. Yes, we're going to disagree. Yes, I'm going to give it to PlayStation because I'm a quote-unquote Xbox guy, but I will give it to Xbox just the same way, to be fair, like I did earlier during the show when I was like, hey, listen, you gotta make 30 and 60 available for your players, not just one or the other. And if Xbox doesn't deliver, well, then that's a failure at leadership. They need to offer it. Sony does it. Sony does it to great degree. They give you a 30 and they give you a 60. Now, maybe the 60 isn't the greatest, but they at least give it for the people that want it. Xbox needs to start doing that. They really do. And I think Avowed is going to be the start of something fresh, because at least we saw it at 30, looked great, ran great, but people want 60. And you know what? If you do, I'm with you, and I'm going to fight for you so you can get to 60 mode. And I think we're going to get that for Avowed later next year, which is why I think it was delayed, honestly. But that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for checking us out. Big thank you to all of the super chats and channel memberships that continue to support the channel, both live and behind the scenes. We are greatly appreciative of it. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.